Governor Healey got on TV this morning talking about ICE doing operations at churches, which is a bold-faced lie. 4 people out of many we've arrested in Boston the last few days. Shame on Governor Healey and Mayor Wu. Shame on both of them. They should be calling the White House thanking President Trump, thanking ICE for making their communities safer. But instead, they get on national TV and lie about ICE and make these accusations that it is a big part of the reason why there's a 1,000% increase on assaults on ICE agents.
We've spent the past couple of weeks in and around Washington, D.C., neighborhoods like Mount Pleasant, where we've been talking to the Latino community. And one thing that we've discovered is that there are a lot of very frightened people there. Mums, dads, kids, grandparents who are too frightened to leave their home. A lot of them are illegally here. I want to know from you what your plan is, because these are people who have been enabled by America to be here for...
Enabled by America, what does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you what it means, sir. It means that they have health care, they have ID cards if they can drive, they have driving licenses, they pay tax, they have jobs. And so over a period of a long time, America has kind of welcomed them and enabled them to be here. And because of a change of policy, which we all understand, are you now saying that all of them must leave and that you will round them up and detain?
But they cheated the system, right? Because there's millions of people standing in line, taking their tests, doing their background investigation, paying their fees to be part of the greatest nation on earth. You're talking about people that cheated the system. No, it's not okay to be in this country legally. Now, let me be clear. President Trump's been clear we're going to prioritize public safety threats and national security threats, and data shows us exactly what we're doing. But if you want me to sit here and bless someone being here illegally, I'm not going to do that because they cheated the system. What they should do is take advantage of the CBP Home app, make arrangements, put their affairs together, and leave. Because that'll leave them an opportunity to come back under the legal program. For instance, if they have a U.S. citizen child, the U.S. citizen child can petition for them someday if they turn 18. Do the right thing and take the CBP Home app and do the right thing. Come back to this country legally.
So what would you say to the 30-year-old mother that we've spoken to from Mexico, been here 16 years, here illegally, but pays her taxes, lives her life here, and as I say, has been enabled by America to be here? What would you say to her? She hasn't left her home for over 2 weeks now. She can't take her own children to school in the neighborhood because she is so frightened of being rounded up by ICE agents.
Well, bottom line is, I just said we're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. We're not out sweeping neighborhoods. We're not out looking for non-criminals. Now, if we run into a non-criminal during these operations, they're absolutely going to be taken in custody, because we're not going to do what the last Biden administration did and tell ICE you can't enforce immigration law. Let me explain to you why we have the most secure border in the nation's history today. It's because of President Trump's executive orders. First of all, it's because the men and women of Border Patrol are finally doing their job. And one of the reasons we have the most secure border in the nation's history, which gives us the highest national security we've ever had, because now we know who's coming and what's coming and so forth, it's because of what ICE is doing. We're sending a message to the whole world. There are consequences for violating our laws. You're asking me to tell ICE, don't enforce the law. Should DEA enforce their laws? Should FBI enforce their laws? Should ATF enforce their laws? ICE is going to enforce the laws of what President Trump got elected for, and that's what we're doing.
And lastly, can I just say,
what reported that ICE ERO doesn't have to fill out worksheets ahead of ops anymore? Can you confirm that? And how does it?
I'm not aware of that. I'll have to run that down. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, and can you give an update on Chicago? How many arrests were made since?
I haven't looked at the numbers this morning. I went straight to the tent here, so I look at the numbers every morning. I have not looked at the numbers yet this morning. I looked at them, so I don't know. I know that I just read off on a show I just did of 4 serious people that were arrested in Chicago. I don't know if let me tell you what's happened in Boston, where Governor Healey got on TV this morning talking about ICE doing operations at churches, which is a bold-faced lie. 4 people out of many we arrested in Boston the last few days. Victor Gomez Perez, a 33-year-old criminal alien from Guatemala, with charges for aggravated rape, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, indecent assault and battery on a victim 14 years or older, assault and battery on a police officer, and a conviction for assault. They arrested Kelly Espinosa Viana, a 34-year-old criminal alien from Colombia, with charges of aggravated assault on a pregnant victim. They arrested Joshua Gonzalez Baez, a 23-year-old criminal alien from Dominican Republic, with pending charges for trafficking heroin, morphine, opium, resisting arrest by an officer, disorderly conduct, and drug distribution. They arrested Samuel Barrera, a 20-year-old criminal illegal alien from Guatemala, with pending charges for assault and battery on a child. This is what ICE is doing across the country. They're targeting the worst of the worst, and they're making this country safe again. President Trump promised the American people he'd make this country safe again. Every public safety threat, every national security threat ICE is taking on the street makes that community safer. Shame on Governor Healey and Mayor Wu. Shame on both of them. They should be calling the White House thanking President Trump, thanking ICE for making their communities safer. But instead, they get on national TV and lie about ICE and make these accusations that it is a big part of the reason why there's a 1,000% increase on assault on ICE agents. Facts matter. And that's why I stop here every day and talk to you all to get the facts out there. The men and women of ICE, they're mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on a hook when they come to work every day. They put themselves in harm's way to go look for the worst of the worst. And we got hateful rhetoric not only coming from governors and mayors who are pushing a false narrative, but members of Congress who are comparing them to terrorists and Nazis. And bottom line is, if ICE is Nazis for enforcing immigration law, what's that make them? They wrote the law. ICE isn't making this up. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress that they're funded to do. It's the same thing we've done for decades. I started in 1984. The difference is the last 4 years, there was no immigration enforcement. ICE agents were told not to enforce law. Border Patrol agents were processing people and releasing them in the country, not securing the border. Now that we're back to doing business, back to securing this nation and making this country safe again, people on the left are going nuts. The data speaks for itself. God bless the men and women of ICE and the Border Patrol. I love each and every one of them because they're stepping. How many of you all want to put a gun on your hip and stand on a dirt trail at 3 o'clock in the morning? When a sensor goes off, is it just an illegal alien looking for a better life? Or is it a heavily armed drug smuggler? They don't know, but they're going to stand there and take it on. These are brave men and women who love America, and I love each and every one of them.
Mr. Homan, should ICE agents be required to identify themselves?
They do.
They don't always.
They do.
Reports. They do.
Because the tactical gear has a patch on it saying, are they from DEA, FBI, or ICE, HSR, or HSI, ERO? They have patches. And if they're in a suit like I am, when they go up and arrest somebody, they have creds in their pocket, like I had creds in my pocket. And it'll show the person, here's who I am. Here's my badge. Here's my creds. This is who I am.
So videos when they're shown not identifying themselves or answering questions about that, are those not real? I'm sure
they will identify themselves in a safety, secure environment. Now, if they're surrounded by a bunch of people who are proposing danger, safety first. Well, I guarantee when someone's arrested and put in detention, they know who arrested them, that person identify himself.
Mr. Homan.
Pardon me?
Sorry?
I missed you.
On Hyundai?
Hyundai.
The raid in Georgia?
Yeah?
I mean, is the administration in touch with the Korean government right now? What's sort of the update there? And then also, I mean, how much is the administration doing to work with South Korea on those permits? And then for other companies?
I appreciate the question, but I'm not in the loop on that case. I can just tell you, I'm not in the loop on that one. No, I'm border czar. I'm doing a lot. I'm not familiar with that case, but I will say this. I said from day one, we're going to increase worksite enforcement operations. It's a crime to enter this country legally, and it's also a crime to knowingly hire an illegal alien. They drive down wages, and they put companies that hire U.S. citizens out of business. And I can give you many examples of that. Every day, illegal aliens are employed by companies, undercut their competition that hires illegal aliens. They drive wages down. No one hires an illegal alien out of goodness of their heart. They hire them because they can work them harder, pay them less. Just like the farmers. There's a way a farmer can bring someone on, but they got to pay decent wages, got to provide housing. There's a right way and wrong way to do this, and President Trump demanded we do things the right way.
Mr. Homan, can we get some Spanish-speaking surrogates to deliver this message that you're giving, because we have media that refuses to give the correct information and they're giving the misinformation, causing the fear in the communities? Can we get some Spanish surrogates to go ahead and give them the right information so they know exactly what app to go to so that they can go and do things the legal and the right way and the law and orderly way?
I think we do, but I agree with you. We could expand that, so I'll take that for action.
Thank you.
How does Operation Midway Blitz differ from the raids that you've been conducting in and around Chicago since February?
We got more resources in Chicago. Again, the president wants to make Chicago safe again. And nothing's changing. We're still prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. It's just we're sending more resources to sanctuary cities. President Trump said day one, we're going to prioritize sanctuary cities because that's where the problem is. We know they're releasing public safety threats back in the community every day. We're going to go where the biggest problems are. The biggest problems are sanctuary cities.
What kinds of new resources?
More boots on the ground.
To community members and leaders who are worried about profiling, what do you say? Are due process rights being violated?
No, look, ICE agents aren't racially profiling. The law says you got to establish reasonable suspicion to detain and question somebody, and I think the men and women, ICE and Border Patrol, are doing exactly that. And I think the Supreme Court disagreed with us in California case. There's a myriad of factors they take into consideration. They learn that in the academy. Every 6 months, ICE agents have a refresher training on Fourth Amendment that gives them the rules around detention, seizure, arrest, questioning, and so forth. They're very well trained. They bring a group of factors together until they establish reasonable suspicion to make an arrest. Like the big story was the jumping on back of Van Home Depot, how they established reasonable suspicion. Were they there when they did surveillance? Were they there when license plate numbers were copied and taken down and tried to build a case on who's hiring these people and where these people came from? Were they there when they run NCIC and III and intelligence data? Were they there when they screened social media data? The men and women at ICE do a good job, and they do it professionally. They do it with integrity. So I think the Supreme Court agreed with us yesterday. Things are being done the right way.
Sir,
the president just talked about a program to
Illinois
help
Governor
farmers.
J.B.
Can you give
Pritzker,
us the status of
he
that
said
now?
on MSNBC that ICE is planning to, quote, invade Chicago. He later shared resources with...
The only invasion that occurred was 10.5 million illegal aliens came to our border, invaded this country, and were illegally released into the United States. And defiance of federal law. Federal law says you come to the border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not think about it. Not releasing the NGO. You know what happened in the 4 years, which no one talks about? Why did it release millions of people into the United States when there are thousands of empty ICE beds? Why did they do that? Because if you're in ICE detention, you get a hearing within 35, 40 days. 90% lose their case. They simply don't qualify for asylum. They get on an airplane, they get sent home. That's not what they wanted. Releasing them to an NGO, the hearings are 5, 7, 9 years out if you go through the entire appeal process. What happens then? They're hoping for another Democratic leadership that can warrant amnesty millions of people. They sold this country out for future political power. President Trump is enforcing the law. That's one thing no one wants to talk about. ICE isn't making it up. They're enforcing the law. That's what they're doing. Because it hasn't been enforced in 4 years, and everybody's shocked right now what ICE is doing. They've been doing this since I started in 1984. They've been doing this for decades, but because the last 4 years they couldn't enforce the law, now we're back to enforcing law, everybody's having a fit. They're doing the right thing. They're making this country safe again every day. One more question. I got to go.
The president has talked about coming up with a program to help farmers who are hurting from the immigration enforcement. Did you have an update on where that stands?
I'm not going to get ahead of the president on that. There's discussions ongoing. I'll leave it at that. But the president has promised there will be no amnesty.
Mr. Homan, are you meeting that goal that the administration has set of deporting out of the country those individuals in the country illegally of a certain number per day or a certain number per month? Are you meeting the administration's set goals? And what is that number that you've seen so far?
I don't have a goal.
You have the administration is...
I don't have a goal. I want ICE out there every day with their partners, FBI, DEA, and ATF, to seek every criminal alien threat, every national security threat. I'll be happy when every illegal alien criminal and every illegal alien terrorist threat is removed from this country. That's when I'll be happy.
Was there never a goal of 3,000 a day? Does that sound right to you?
But, 3,000 a day, people keep bringing up 3,000 a day. Let me make something clear. You'd have to arrest 7,000 people a day, 7,000 people a day, just to remove the people Joe Biden let in the country. 3,000 is not unreasonable at all, considering what the Biden administration did for 4 years. Do the math. 7,000 a day for the rest of this administration just to remove the people they let in. Not even talking about the 15 million that are already here. Again, President Trump promised American people to make this country safer. I want you guys, if you leave with anything, leave with this. The data proves the majority of people ICE are arresting are criminal and public safety threats. We're taking them off the street. We're removing them from this country. So every day, this country gets a little bit safer because of President Trump sitting in the Oval Office, giving ICE and Border Patrol the authority to enforce the law and uphold the oath they took to defend this nation. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.